Yo, what's going on with Volkanovski? Where is the featherweight goat? Where's he at? Because in a recent interview with Submission Radio, Volkanovski says that he originally thought he was going to be fighting Lerone Murphy in December, but says there might be a spanner in the works. And since this interview came out, Lerone Murphy has taken to X to respond. Let's take a gander at the words of wisdom of Lerone Murphy. He says they will avoid me like the plague now, because they know I've reached my potential. The spanner isn't me. I will fight him tomorrow. I understand I'm a very risky last fight. Yo, Lerone Murphy's kind of got this complex going on right now that like a lot of fighters have, that they're the clear-cut contender, the clear-cut guy to be fighting for the belt. Now, let's just get one thing abundantly clear. If Volkanovski never mentioned Lerone Murphy, not one single person on earth would be talking about Murphy fighting for the title next, facts. Because Lerone Murphy is going to get a title fight potentially off beating a guy making his UFC debut.
Bruh.
Now, don't get me wrong, the knockout of Aaron Pico. Aaron Pico was known in the combat sports world. Aaron Pico wasn't like a Pitbull crossing over or a Michael Chandler. This guy wasn't even proven in Bellator. This guy never won a title in Bellator. And we've even seen when Bellator's best, like Apache Mix, come over to the UFC, they're not UFC caliber. They're not UFC top 15, top 10, top 5 level. We've seen it time and time again. Now again, Lerone Murphy's finish on Aaron Pico, one of the best knockouts of the year, put Aaron Pico out cold. But the guy was making his UFC debut. Now, if Volkanovski wants to fight Lerone Murphy next, I'm happy enough to see that fight. I actually think it's going to be a pretty good technical matchup. I don't think it's going to be fight of the year. I don't think we're going to see a crazy KO at all. I think Volkanovski will beat Lerone Murphy, to be honest. I know Volk's up in age now. He's not in his prime, but I still do think he has enough in the tank to beat Lerone Murphy. I understand Lerone Murphy is undefeated in the UFC, and he does have 2 ranked wins. Not one of those ranked wins are anybody in the top 5 though. Josh Emmett, Dan Ige, and then Aaron Pico. So, I understand Lerone Murphy probably is pissed because Volk did call him out, but you're not the clear number 1 contender in my opinion. Now, we're going to look at some other options that could potentially be fighting Volkanovski. Let's start off with the obvious one. It's Movsar Evloev. Yo, I understand Movsar Evloev. We haven't seen him in almost a year. His last fight was against Aljamain Sterling. Aljo arguably won that fight. Then you've got the Arnold Allen matchup. There's controversy in there. But Movsar Evloev is the best featherweight, I'm going to say right now, in the UFC. I think he's better than... I think he'd beat Volkanovski. I think he is the best. I think Movsar's got underrated boxing. Obviously, his grappling's next level. But just based off name value, the run that he's on, Dan Ige, Diego Lopez, Arnold Allen, Aljamain Sterling, that's a crazy run. That just is a crazy run. I understand though that he's pulled out of a lot of fights due to injury, and I get why the UFC maybe don't want to give him the title fight next. Personally, I'd like to see him run it back with Diego Lopez next. I think that would be a fun one. But if the UFC want to give it to Movsar, they want him to fight for the belt. The guy's 19-0. He's beat a lot of ranked contenders in the UFC's featherweight division. He is the guy that makes the most sense to fight for the belt next, in my opinion. Another option, Aljamain Sterling. Yo,
Bruh.
I know Lerone Murphy kind of called out Aljo for throwing his name into the hat. Aljo's there. Arguably beat Movsar Evloev. He's beat Calvin Kattar. He's just coming off a really, really dominant performance. 5-zipped Brian Ortega. Outstruck him. Beat him up. Really good performance. And the thing that Aljo has over the likes of Lerone Murphy, he's a former champion, former pound for pounder. He's got a win inside of the top 5, which is something that Lerone Murphy doesn't have, and that does go against him. I understand that Aljamain Sterling in his last 4 fights is 2-2. One of those losses was a bantamweight, so that shouldn't have an effect on his featherweight run, let's just be honest. And the Movsar Evloev fight was extremely close and arguably could have went the Aljamain Sterling. So Aljo, I don't think he will get it next, but he definitely has to be in the conversation, in my opinion anyway. And finally, look, I hate this, and I have a slight suspicion that this is going to be the route they go. Obviously, we thought this was going to be the UFC Noche main event, and we all kind of braced for Impact on that. Never happened. But where the fuck is this guy? Where is he? Where is Yair? Where are you? Where is Yair Rodriguez? If this guy's the spanner in the works, I suggest we sell the UFC completely and we release all the fighters and let them go to other organizations, because if this guy gets the title fight, I'm going to fucking implode. I'm going to implode. This guy does not deserve a title fight at all. Again, if he gets a title fight off beating a debut in Patricio Pitbull, that's I give up. I'm actually speechless. Why are we wasting Volkanovski? The guy doesn't have that long left. He wants to fight in December. He called out Lerone Murphy. If Lerone Murphy is there and able to take the fight, the only other person I think that should realistically jump Lerone Murphy is Movsar. I think you've got Movsar and Aljo and Lerone Murphy are drawn. You've got Diego Lopez, but Lopez is coming off that win over Gene Silva. They're not going to do for Volkanovski anyway, beat Lopez and then run it back in December. It's not going to happen, personally. So I think do Lerone Murphy. Go for that. If you're not going to do Movsar, go for Lerone Murphy and do then Yair versus Aljamain Sterling or something. That actually might be a video I do. I'm going to book the featherweight division. But let me know your opinions in the comments below. What is next for Volkanovski? And as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And I'll see you all again in the next one.